Admissions in higher ed is stuck. Outdated tools and rigid processes slow institutions down, making it harder to truly connect with today's students. But Brittany at the College of Albemarle shows there's a better way.
At College of the Albemarle, we're always looking for new ways to better serve our students. Let's face it, though, life doesn't always fit into a 9-to-5 schedule. That's why we've been so excited about the AI tools we get to use through our CRM, Element 451. This makes connecting to COA easier than ever. We're working on Bolt AI Assistance, Bolt Discovery, and these are tools designed to give students access to COA resources and information anytime, day or night. Got a question about admissions? Need help exploring programs? Looking for resources? These tools are like having COA staff at your fingertips, ready to help whenever it's convenient for you.
Your prospective students get the info they need when they need it, and your team saves time. Visit element451.com to see how AI can help you simplify your admissions process to stay focused on what really matters, your students.
When you're optimizing your website, your program page content, your admissions information, you really need to think about it and structure it so that the AI can easily find it and understand it, as well as your prospective students, because like you said, once they do click through to your website, they are highly engaged.
This is The Application, where higher ed enrollment strategy gets tactical. I'm Allison Tercio, marketer, curious question asker, and your guide through what's next and what's working in higher ed. Join us as we focus on what really matters, connecting with students and parents in more human, personalized ways, and using tools like AI to make that connection scalable and smart. From rethinking your inquiry campaigns to fixing funnel friction, everything we cover is about creating better experiences for students and better results for your team. Whether you lead the team, recruit the students, build the campaigns, or manage the message, you'll walk away from every episode with something you can use right now. Are you ready to get one step closer to your next enrollment win? Let's go.
Remember when optimizing for Google search was all about keywords? Yeah, those days are over. With AI, now we're rewriting how students search, discover, and engage. It's truly a whole new playbook. Between Google's recent changes and the rise of AI-driven search tools, the game is shifting really fast. Here to help us unpack what's changing and what to do about it is Sarah Russell, Vice President of Marketing at EducationDynamics. She recently attended Google Marketing Live and is ready to share what these changes mean for your enrollment marketing strategy and how to stay ahead of the curve. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm super excited about this conversation. I don't think I could name a more relevant topic for higher ed marketers than this one right here, right now.
Yes, it's definitely on everyone's minds. Hopefully, I can provide a little bit of guidance and clarity for your listeners.
I'm positive you will be able to. We're all really hungry for it. So let's start with Google, which we know has made some very serious changes and is making really serious changes. From your perspective, how is search marketing different today than just a few months ago? What do we need to understand about what has changed?
Yes, that is a great place to start because the change has come at us incredibly fast. And for years, we've seen incremental evolution, so we're not strangers to change in this space. But what's happened over the last few months is fundamentally kind of redesigning how search works, how users interact with it, and how marketers can optimize for it. So for decades, our primary focus within search marketing has been securing a spot in that list of links. And success was really about ranking as highly as possible on as many keywords as possible because the click-through rates in those top positions is what drove your website traffic. You probably lived and died by your top 20 keywords in terms of traffic. But today, the search results page is a very, very dynamic and conversational experience. And it's unique to every individual, so it's highly personalized. And with Google's AI overviews now providing these really direct and synthesized answers right at the top of the page, we've shifted from optimizing for this list of links to really optimizing for an interactive answer engine. And all of that means that zero-click search, where the user gets the answer directly in the search engine results page, they never really even leave Google or click through to your website, that's our new reality. And we have to completely rethink what website visibility and discoverability even means in that context. How do we effectively value and maximize the role your website plays in the student journey? Because it is still so important, but how you get it in front of prospective students is fundamentally different.
Yeah. On one hand, I often think that the website has never been more important because the students who actually make it are almost self-selecting, right? Like they might even have higher yields if they make it through the whole funnel. They're more likely to apply. They're more likely to engage because they really like you if they actually make it to the website, right? And they get beyond this sort of zero-click era. And so we have to be ready to be able to engage them, collect their information, be able to market to them maybe differently than before because the students who are making it to the website are fundamentally different in this era. But what are some of the other things that we really need to take away and understand about our work in enrollment when it comes to this idea of search generative experience?
Yes, I think the most critical mindset shift for enrollment marketers is realizing that you are not just marketing to people. You also have to understand how to market to the AI.
We're marketing to artificial intelligence
Absolutely.
now.
We absolutely are. And especially with the conversation around agentic AI and how do you build your website, build your content to speak to AI agents. It's not the most warm and fuzzy feeling, but that does have to be part of your strategy while not losing sight of the fact that you still do need to resonate with your prospective student as well. So really thinking about AI as the intermediary in how students are going to experience your brand. And that means when you're optimizing your website, your program page content, your admissions information, you really need to think about it and structure it so that the AI can easily find it and understand it, as well as your prospective students. Because like you said, once they do click through to your website, they are highly engaged. They've got a very specific intent. So hiding that information in a PDF that's 7 pages deep is not going to help either the student or the AI.
This is really great because one thing we really need is another stakeholder to worry about in higher ed marketing, I think. We don't have enough audiences.
We were missing that for sure.
That's something we definitely needed on our plate. So this is perfect. And taking it from the student perspective, how has all of this already changed what their search experience is when they're looking at colleges?
I think one of the clearest changes I've seen is their search query behavior. So searches are getting longer, they're getting more conversational, and students are really posing them as multi-point questions more and more frequently. So it's a really interesting shift where maybe a few years ago, we would have seen students searching for shorter head terms like best online MBA.
Yeah.
Now, we're really seeing them start to shift towards asking questions like, what are the best online MBA programs for working parents with a flexible schedule? They're kind of treating that search bar like they're talking to a person, and they're adding these qualifiers in a single search or a single conversation. So that's a really interesting piece and a challenge for search marketers, whether you're trying to keep up with that trend with your keywords that you're bidding on in paid search, whether you're trying to develop all of your content strategies for organic, like that does make it a lot more complex. But I think we are seeing then a corresponding shift in traffic patterns as well. These informational keywords where we're seeing a lot of these AI overviews or the search generative experience, that traffic has become a lot more volatile because the students are getting what they need in that AI overview. We're seeing that increase in zero-click searches. So the way that we previously assigned value to that stage, it was measuring clicks and traffic, but that's not really valid anymore. But we still have to understand and value the role that played. Just because the student didn't click through to your website in those scenarios, it doesn't mean that the AIO wasn't impactful to them. And the AIO is powered by your content. So it's really understanding how that student journey is becoming less direct. And then how does your measurement need to evolve to connect those dots?
When you say powered by our content, tell me more about that. How can we influence the answers that students are getting through the Google overview or in ChatGPT or whatever it might be that they're using to search for and compare colleges and do all those sorts of things?
Yes, that is a great question. And I really think that it's important first to think about this kind of visibility, whether it's in an AI overview, whether it's in ChatGPT or another LLM, really thinking about it as the new top of funnel visibility. And then how do you think about that across different content sources? So the AI overview, any of these LLM answers are synthesizing information across a lot of different sources. So you need to think about your brand footprint across your social media presence, your PR mentions, your YouTube channel, all of these expressions of your brand outside of your website. How do all of those things work together in a complementary way that is going to provide a holistic brand experience? So I think we're really used to in the search marketing space thinking about ourselves as a performance marketing channel, but we absolutely have to embrace the brand marketing component of that as well and think about your brand and your performance as a single strategy with many overlapping parts, because that is how students are going to be interacting with you across all of these different touch points.
And the performance marketing, since you mentioned it, that's changing too, right? The opportunities around that, because with Google, they have this idea of precision targeting and automated campaigns, right? Can you unpack what that looks like in practice for those of us who are doing performance marketing?
Yes. And I think what's really important to understand within that framework is the definition of precision. In the past, when we talked about precision as marketers, it was really meaning a human manually selecting and organizing keywords and manually raising or lowering bids based on the analysis of the performance, writing really individualized ad copy to pair with each of those different ad groups and keyword sets. And today, that's ridiculous. Nobody would do that. Or if you are, I hate to break it to you, but you're probably
getting beat by AI.
You're probably in need of a glow up, because today that true precision comes from the quality of the data that you are feeding into the machine. The algorithm is using that data to automate all of those individual actions that we used to do to drive precision marketing. So as we've moved away from this manual campaign management, these automated bidding strategies have gotten very, very good at optimizing for a simple conversion action. In higher ed, that's usually a request for information form fill. But the problem is that not all leads, and certainly not all lead sources, are created equal when it comes to quality and likelihood of enrollment. So just plugging your AI-powered bidding strategy into your old campaign structure is not going to be enough. Firstly, because you want a more sophisticated success metric. These algorithms are going to optimize to volume, and that can come at the expense of quality. So you need to inform it with conversion actions that give it a sense of quality. So for us, that's applications, interviews, enrollments. But secondly, the mechanics of how to structure your campaigns for AI optimization are really fundamentally different than how we used to structure them for that human manual optimization. And that's really where the precision targeting and the automation comes in, because it's really heavily tech enabled and it requires a really sophisticated technical setup. You have to understand those higher value conversion actions, how those are represented in your analytics and your CRM, and how are those all built together to inform your algorithm on what's driving your enrollment success, and set the different values. Like, this application is 10 times more valuable to me than an inquiry or whatever. So you really just have to train the AI not to look for anyone who's just going to fill out the form, but train it to optimize towards users who are more likely to persist and complete that higher value action. And then from there, the real magic is layering in and actioning off of your first party data to inform it with the attributes, the signals that it needs. You're essentially giving the AI consent to follow. This is what a qualified applicant looks like. This is what a successful graduate looks like. Here are the attributes they have and the behaviors they take. And here's how you can find more people who behave like them. So for marketers, though, the big mindset shift is you're not necessarily able to identify and write a list of what those attributes are. It's all packaged up in your first party data, and really making sure that you're feeding that into the ad platforms and the bidding algorithms so that it can parse out those audience signals.
It sounds like a mindset shift, but also maybe a skill shift. It feels like we're going to need different skills than what we were using before to do really well at performance marketing.
Absolutely.
And one of the ones that feels really apparent to me is this balance of what do you automate and what do we do manually, and making and understanding what we should have our hand in and what we should rely on the AI for. And that's sort of, is that something we're going to learn more about, you think, as time goes along? Because maybe we don't have all the answers on that piece right now.
Yes, I certainly think it will shift. Where we are today, my rule of thumb is to automate the tactics, but manually manage the strategy. So let your AI manage the real-time bidding and the optimization of your creative or your placements, because they're going to be better at that than a human. They can see all of these audience signals, and we just don't have that level of detail. But you need the human to set the campaign strategy and to structure the campaign in order to best achieve that goal. And then to ensure that the data that's passing back, that's feeding those quality signals, is set up so that they can optimize to it. So all of that is going to be a real give and take with the human and the AI. But then the key thing that AI can't replace is, yes, they can analyze results and performance, but the human's job within that is to ask why. Why did this creative work better? Why did the audience respond to this? Why did this segment perform better? And using that insight to then inform the next creative brief that you plug into the AI. So the AI executes, the human strategizes. And will that evolve as the AI tools get a lot more sophisticated? Probably, but that's where we are today.
Yeah, definitely. Well, maybe by the time this podcast comes out, even
it might already be outdated.
Going so fast, right? It might have already been updated. But I do think AI is never going to fully understand your students and never going to fully understand your institution. And that connection point layered onto any kind of analysis of what is working and why it's working, or what's not working and why it's not. And that part is always going to be really valuable. And I keep saying, it's funny, we always talk about soft skills, like communication and critical thinking and that sort of thing. And I think we really got to stop calling them soft skills, because they're going to be like the most important skills moving forward, because the critical thinking, what you were just describing, will be so key. But then also being able to communicate that to others and communicate with the AI. This whole concept of prompting, that is, if you're an effective communicator, you have an advantage there from what I can tell. So it's interesting times what we'll be working on.
Yes, absolutely.
What are some specific tools or tactics that you're recommending to partners you're working with right now? Like, what do we need to be thinking about? What do we need to be looking at to stay competitive in this new search environment?
Well, I definitely think that all of the foundational tactics of your search marketing still apply. Don't throw them out. Nothing that we have been doing for the last several years necessarily is wrong, but make sure that you're thinking about evolving it. So for example, you really need to make sure your technical SEO is strong so that your website can be discoverable in AI-powered search. And then from there, it's like the plus one. From there, how do you invest in robust content development that is going to speak to these AI-driven changes we're seeing with search queries? They're longer, they're more conversational, they hit on multiple points. And then how do you always need to make sure your user experience is clean and removes unnecessary hurdles or friction, but how are you also ensuring that your data tracking on your website is able to see all that behavior, because that's what feeds the algorithm to optimize. So really just making sure you're not moving away from those foundational elements that have always been important in this space. And then from there, the next layer of it is thinking about how to shift your search marketing strategy from this historic focus on individual keyword rankings and moving it to that mindset shift of your holistic brand experience within search. How do you amplify your brand within an AI-powered search when it's synthesizing content from multiple platforms? So this can mean that you need to have a really specific strategy around repurposing content across platforms, aligning your social content and your website content, being able to repurpose written content into video, for example, and just thinking about your presence in all of these different platforms that can power search. So that's going to be a lot of YouTube and social media profiles and news outlets and third-party blog sites like Medium and that sort of thing. So all of that is kind of how you take it to the next level with AI-powered search, but you can't do that until your foundational elements are in order. And then on the paid side, I do think, even though it is scary, it's important to lean into the pillars that are driving this AI-first marketing. So embracing a broad match keyword strategy. That broad match used to be a bad word in the paid media space.
Yeah, it felt
especially for higher ed.
wasteful, right?
It's like, oh, I'm getting all of this traffic. None of it's relevant. And I think it's really important to recognize the improvements that all of these audience signals and this AI-powered mechanism actually has brought to products you think that you're familiar with, like broad match, but they're totally different now. And they are more effective if you have that data pass back that is really informing the algorithm of the type of student that you want. And things like Performance Max too. I think early adopters of PMAX campaigns probably saw a ton of volume, not a ton of quality.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go back to that, right? But I do think it's worth revisiting some of these things that even if you had a bad experience with initially, it's moving so quickly. You just have to be willing to retest and to do it right, set it up with all of the data, all of the architecture that the AI needs to optimize off of, feeding that algorithm this really rich diet of data and different creative assets for it to optimize to. So the more you can do all of that, the better the AI-driven products will perform and the better your results will be.
I mean, at worst, you're going to learn something, right?
Exactly. Nothing is a failure. It's only a learning opportunity.
Yes, especially right now in this moment. So we can't write off things that we were doing a year ago that didn't work because so much has changed with them. That is a great takeaway. Before I ask my last couple of questions, I just want to tell everyone, this is one of those episodes that I'm going to ask you, please share with someone, because this is a new way of thinking that we all need to wrap our brains around. And the whole reason I do this podcast is for this industry so that we can all learn from each other. And this is a really great topic. So please share. And also, if you recommend it or make a comment on the podcast, that helps get it in front of more people. And this is just one of those important topics. So please do me that favor and do that. Sarah, I want to ask you about the importance of awareness. From what I'm hearing from you, and I know you're talking a lot about the digital channels and the owned content and repurposing content, but it also feels like our name and our understanding of our colleges just need to be in front of students even more than it was before in terms of brand awareness, because then they might ask the AI about us, right? So, because if we don't serve up that opportunity, that could be a really big disadvantage. But it feels like we have to shift, and brand awareness needs our attention and needs our focus at this time.
It absolutely does. And even outside of all the shifts that we're seeing with AI, we have also been seeing a steady increase in prospective students beginning their search journey with brand. So 10 years ago, a majority of prospective students, when they got to the point of search, were searching for program-specific or more general education terms. And so at that point in time, a performance marketing channel like paid search or organic search could really be used as that first touch point for a student to discover your brand. That is shifting to be completely on its head. It's absolutely the opposite now. Now we see 2/3 almost of students start their search journey with brands specifically. So if you haven't gotten into their consideration set at that point, it's probably too late to really make an impact on their decision mindset. So it's so crucial that you have those touch points prior to the point of search, because we're quickly getting to the point where search can't operate as that initial brand touch point for you anymore, or at least not do it effectively.
The last thing I want to touch on, and you talked about it a bit, but I just think it's so important because we have lived in this life of clicks, meaning so much. So I just want to really have clarity on what are the new performance metrics that enrollment marketers should be tracking that maybe we haven't been in the past. You know, we've let clicks really drive what is important and also inform us. We even look at click-through rates of what message works best, right? And what ads perform best. what do we really need to be honing in on now?
Yes, they definitely need to evolve these metrics to like you said, meet this moment. And keyword rankings, organic traffic, that's still going to be important, but it's not going to tell the whole story anymore. And specifically on the organic search side, how prospective student behavior is shifting, you really need to have a more holistic approach to how you're looking at this engagement within the search engine results page. So a really important new metric that we're tracking is something we're calling AI density. Simply put, AI density really just measures how often your institution's content, typically your website content, but that can also be across other sources as well. How often is that cited as a source within Google's AI overviews or within the LLMs for your most important topics and keywords and searches? So it's really a direct measure then of how much authority and trustworthiness your institution has in the eyes of AI on these particular topics. And it tells you, is your content strategy working in optimization for AI-driven search? Or do you have more work to do to convince the AI models that you are a reliable source of truth for these individual searches? And so AI density is one piece of that, but a larger, more holistic metric that also encompasses AI density is this concept of search share of voice. So again, not just your organic website listing, but your total ownership of the search results page when somebody is searching for either your brand name or more relevant keywords that might not include your brand, but where are you showing up? Is it your paid ads, your local listings, your social media profiles that rank, other third-party websites like Medium or Reddit that are going to surface your content? And then most importantly, that AIO presence. But all of these different sources combined really will make up when a user searches, whether that's in traditional search or Google's AI mode that they've launched recently, what amount of available real estate does your brand own, and how is that content being kind of sourced and surfaced in these more conversational search results? So these kinds of metrics, that's the new leading indicators for visibility and influence. And it's going to tell us if we're winning attention at the very top of the funnel. But as performance marketers, we still need to tie that into the impact that it's having on your inquiries,
Actual
your enrollments.
enrollment.
Exactly. So that total attribution model becomes even more important. And that's something that there's no silver bullet. There's no one key to just, oh, I have to use this tool and then attribution is fixed. It's certainly more complex and nuanced than that. So ensuring that you have a measurement strategy that is multi-point and has a lot of different elements that can inform this holistic picture of your student journey.
How can people understand their AI density and the share that you were talking about? Where do they go to find those numbers and find that information?
Yes, you absolutely need to be investing or partnering with somebody who invests in a tool like a SEMrush, Conductor, any of those kind of SEO specific tools. Ahrefs, they have evolved quite a bit in the last couple of years to incorporate a lot of the AI overview. People also ask all of those richer search features that you can then pull that data and make sure you contextualize it. Like, okay, maybe I'm appearing in 100 AI overviews over the course of the last month. Is that number great because I could have been appearing or I was eligible to rank for 1,000, or was I eligible to rank for 1,000,000 and I'm just not hitting the mark in terms of that relevance? So that's the other piece too, is it's not just a number, it's contextualizing that number within kind of the overall landscape and understanding what does this tell me about how effective I'm being within this space or not.
And over time. So if you're not tracking it and you start now, then you'll be able to see, next year at this time, what that looks like. I think that's another great example, though, of you might not have felt like you needed those tools before, but it's worth another look now.
Yes, absolutely. And as we kind of mentioned earlier, your website is probably more important now than it ever has been. But how you get it to work for you looks fundamentally different. I would say it's probably a lot more challenging. And so tools and data points and partnerships that maybe didn't necessarily serve you a year ago are probably going to be really critical now.
Yeah, I predict with websites we're going to get less traffic, but the potential for more engagement,
Yes.
which is a really great opportunity.
I absolutely agree. Because once you get that prospective student, you want them to be informed, you want them to be engaged. And as long as our marketing strategies are evolving to get those students to your website and capture that intent effectively, then you're still winning in this space.
Sarah, thank you so much. This has been such a smart and helpful conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to all of our listeners, if this episode got your gears turning, consider subscribing or sharing it with a colleague. We will catch you next time on The Application.
Thanks for listening to The Application. This show is a proud member of the Enrollify Network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where Higher Ed goes to grow, so be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and so much more. Visit enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.